because at the end of the day, I still want to be able to, I don't dislike George Washington. I don't dislike even some of the most racist people in history. But I want to know their history, but I also want to know not only that, you know, hey, they were whatever, but I also want to know about the Shirley Chisholms. I also want to know about the Frederick Douglass. And not even Nat Turner. I want to know more about Nat Turner than him just being some revolutionary. I want to know the Nat Turner that was out in the fields. I want to know the Nat Turner that grew up as a kid. I don't want to know just the narrative. You know, tuned in to Urban Conservative. 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 Tuned in to Urban Conservative.
Q9, my futon, hold it up and smoke it. Transgression, a progression of a war we ain't asked for. Transgression, a progression of a war we ain't asked for.
It's madness, yo. All the things that we could talk about.
Call it.
But let's talk about these urban circumstances real quick.
And basically it's
we got this.
So,
Revolution.
Winner's frosty hand. Muhammad is the fame's name, forever stand.
Standing on royal fusing of justice for the few, ridiculed by the pale terrorists bent on genocidal obsession, rooted in fear of neglection and abandonment, fueled by nightmares of ancestors' jealousy.
truth, because at the end of the day, I still want to be able to I don't dislike George Washington.
The kind of friends I think all friends should be like my friends. My friends are the kind of friends I think everyone needs. My friends see the things at times I don't see. My friends hate the police.
What has changed?
Are deemed the criminals, and the blacks are deemed the criminals.
Shut up and help.
Reflection ain't nothing but the inner child trying to see you.
You gonna look? You gonna pick up that book?
Lord, keep me far from the faith. Guide me through night and day. Teach me your ways. Show me the righteous way to sway. Lord, can you teach me, please? Show me the way, I'd say.
Grand Risings, Grand Risings, Grand Risings, Grand Risings, and welcome back to another episode of the Urban Conservative with Chaz Neal. I got something special for y'all today, man. We're going to get into the nitty gritty about corruption, about fraudulent behavior from our elected officials, from our nonprofits. But first, you know, I'm this season doing different this year. And I'm going to start off, you know, pumping y'all up, getting y'all ready. I got something this morning that's special for y'all. It's called Wake Up People. This is a song that I did last year off of Conservative Nigga with Attitude. So here y'all go. I hope y'all enjoy. And I will be right back after this.
Wake up, people. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Well, there's so many, right? I just wish people would really see it. And that's why I really don't mess with people no more. I can't mess with the Jonathan Masons and all of them because they're not trendsetters. They're not truth seekers. They want to continually, they don't want to call out people doing the wrongs. They don't want people calling out. They rather just pretend it don't exist. When actually it does. It came to see to me that that's part of the problem with the Sheerans, the Jonathan McKellans, the John Thompsons, you know what I'm saying, the Cortez Rices. It's ridiculous how people don't call it out. Just another day in Minneapolis. 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 You know, they don't call it out, but you can be Brandon Tullock, or you could be a lavish Bob Morrison and put on a dress, and you're loved. Be a straight black man. Be a straight heterosexual black man, Marky. And we get railroaded. They put on that dress. Everything is all right. Well, I'm telling you, boy, y'all just listen to some of the stories these people talk about after the protests when they go out drinking and after part on the wine bottles come out. When the lights go out. Just another day in Minneapolis. Just another day in Minneapolis. Another day in Minnesota. Another day. Detroit, Michigan. Just another day in Minneapolis. 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 Wake up.
This is my family, and this.
I'm behind this morning, so that was wake up, people. That was by your boy me, Derby Conservative. And like I said, man, I got something special for y'all today. We're gonna talk about a few things from. Let me just get into it. So, unmasking pandemic aid fraud from halal restaurants to business consultants, right? I don't know if people have been paying attention to what's going on in the news, but you know, I've been talking a long time about feeding our futures. That's something that, and I have brought on. Robert is joining me this morning to talk about a few things that have came up, and I just feel like we feel like people should know and understand what's going on, because we're coming into times that are serious, right? And I think people need to be educated and informed so that we can start making informed decisions, right? Because we're not making informed decisions right now at all. And it's sad to see that we have so many community leaders and elected and, you know, people that are out here just, you know, spinning propaganda and not coming out telling the truth. And one thing that I have, you know, like branded in my brain is the words, you know, transparency, accountability, truth. And I think, what the fuck is that? You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of people should really start looking at what is truth, what is transparency, what is accountability, because we're not seeing that. We're not. And I don't think people are paying attention to what is going on in our communities. And I'm not talking about North, South Minneapolis or St. Paul. I'm talking about St. Cloud. I'm talking about Rochester, you know, Albert Lee, Owatonna, Duluth. You know, there's so many other places that are experiencing fraud, but just on different levels. And when are people actually going to wake up and see what's going on? Because it's going to hurt our communities. Big time, it's going to hurt us. And we need to come out, say something, because there is people that are speaking out, right? But a lot of it is said in court transcripts. And that is the biggest problem, because there's been a lot, and we're gonna discuss this morning with Bobby Champion, feeding our future. So don't be shocked at any names that you hear, because like I said, this is unfiltered truth. We're definitely not scared to say names or any of that. So because this is about accountability, right? This is about truth. This is about transparency. I'm going to be honest, because all we're doing is putting out court transcripts, right? It's nothing different. A lot of the stuff that we're putting out is public information. It's just that people don't know where to look. They don't understand where to search, or they don't know what they're looking at. And that's what we're here for, is to help break it down, because I love what Deanna Winter's doing, right? Bill Glenn. There's another guy, Paul Walsh, even though I don't really like the Star Tribune. But there is other people, even Liz Collins. I know she gets a lot of rag. But there is reporters, there is journalists that are putting out good journalism, and it's not being paid attention to, because we care more about P. Diddy and what's going on with his life than what's going on in our own neck of the woods. And don't people see that as an issue, or is it just me, or is it just a few others? Because I do believe that there's people out there that see what is going on and have a problem with it, but are scared to speak up. And it's like, why? What's the point of being scared anymore? What do you have to be scared of? So I think I added Robert. Yeah, he's on here. He just muted. He muted himself. But you're more than glad to come on here and speak, bro.
Okay, I wasn't sure where you wanted to start.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah.
I was real quick replying to the Libertarian Party real quick about the petitions. So, where do you want to start? I'm not sure where with the stack of stuff you wanted to start.
Man, there's so much. I kind of want to get into at first. I know Bobby Champion is a hot topic, but I kind of wanted to just get into a little bit of feeding our futures. That is in trial right now in federal court. They are scared, Ben. They definitely are scared to talk. But there was some big stuff that came out yesterday from the FBI forensic accountant. And for me, it was pretty shocking, because you can literally connect. One thing, I will speak for myself, right? Because I've literally connected people that work with Keith Ellison when he was running for Attorney General, that were a part of the Feeding Our Future. And it was something that I disrupted, and I was thinking it was last year, but it was 2022, that me, Cortez Rice, and Dave McBrien all interrupted Keith Ellison's press conference. It was John Choi, Mike Freeman, and there was one more county attorney too. I think it was Dakota or Washington County. But they were asking for more money from the state legislator to prosecute and persecute juveniles, right? Because, there was a big thing at the time with the Kia boys, and, just carjackings was out of control, which they kind of still are. But it's just crazy to me how people weren't even paying attention to this, because there was some interesting ass shit that came up in their bank records. And the lady was, this is what blew my mind, is what is on trial is that has been on trial. Actually, hold up. Whoops, my bad. I'm not even sharing my screen. Y'all ain't even seeing nothing. My bad. I wasn't even over here thinking. Oh, here we go. So this is the Minnesota Reformer. This is Deanna Winter, and I'll tell you right now, people really need to go give this lady a read. She's really in depth. Because I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of stuff that I knew, but the China and all of that, I did not know. Like, really blew my mind. And the fact that they were, and I'm going to talk about this later on in the show, is about Lake Street. But the fact that they claim that $49 million and that they were feeding all of these kids just blew my mind. And it's like, we don't even have that many kids in the state. 30 million. And she spent 3 million on food. So what to do with the 27? One of the nonprofits is Think Tech Act, which opened a bank account in September 2018 that was largely dormant outside of $73,000 it received from the city of Minneapolis. And I think Think Tech Act, that was Jamal Osman's wife was a part of that. See, and there's so many names that haven't been brought up yet in this lawsuit that really frustrates me. Because you can link them. And I just, but yeah, let's get into whack ass Bobby. Because I don't like that dude.
Well, and that Feeding Our Future stuff does get interesting. I was reading some of the stuff on it. I forget which names I was reading, but yeah, the stuff with China gets real interesting because there's other things Minnesota's done with China as well, including funding Rona research through the U of M.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so it gets interesting where these money is going. And I guess the guy who ran it was from Kenya, right?
Yep.
So it wasn't even fully Somali. It was like from Kenya, and so it makes you wonder because some of these countries over there, remember, we have clandestine bases, and when we started bringing over the Somali people, that was because we were using Somali in the Horn of Africa as like clandestine warriors. We were funding people against each other. That's the whole thing about Black Hawk Down is that whole thing. And same thing with Sudan and Djibouti. And Djibouti, we have a multi-million-dollar UAV base there. So it just gets interesting. Like, where's this money actually going? And is this just one big CIA op? Which probably,
You know, I really started to ponder the whole, not even ponder, but to sit there and look at the connections, because I do believe that's why people don't get charged and why they're able to keep it so hush hush. And it really doesn't help that we have a trifecta here in Minnesota, and the fact that the mayors are connected to Lugar, who is our U.S. attorney. So it's like, how do we even know that we're going to get accountability? Are they just giving us what to please people? And that's what I really see is them getting the small fish and not going after the big fish.
On the other side of that too is, are they making it to where they've made errors in the case where they know it's appealable? Because sometimes they do that. Like with no offense, with the 45 indictment, that gets interesting because like the lead cop on that was Lipinski, dude, and he got yelled at by a federal judge for not being credible on the stand. I mean, like, they know they can't use the guy.
What's crazy is actually my public defender had brought up that case to me because she wondered if I knew anything about it. And like I said, I really didn't know much at the time. I just knew that Lugar and them indicted a whole bunch of, highs members, lows members, and some bloods or whatever. But she was like, what's crazy is they done fucked up so much in that investigation. And that's why the state didn't take control of it, because it would have been so quick to be overturned, appealable. And that's why they let the feds do it, for the simple fact it's harder to overturn shit in the feds, and the evidence doesn't have to be so credible.
It's not the first time, man. Because if you remember when like Lee Edwards and them were being looked
Mm-hmm.
at for being part of the on the payroll of the gang and that,
Right.
that entire investigation got botched, and so it got ended up stopping. But they did actually prosecute, I believe it was Hipley, Robert Hipley, which is one of the officers actually from Haynes's case. It's the reason I remember that name. I'll have to go back and double check. But yeah, so like there was at least one officer involved for sure, and so the other rumors are pretty much validated by certain things if you look at the historical record, including the newspaper clippings.
Right.
Like Lee Edwards being at certain churches getting weapons from gang members at that church, and you just don't do it. You have them bring it down to the station. You don't, you know what I mean?
Right. No, I definitely, and that's the whole thing for me is like this shit's been going on so long, and so you get so deep, and these people have became and progressed into positions of power that they think they're untouchable. That's what the crazy part for me is, because what I see from like a lot of like shit, I'm gonna even show it, man, because like these people were literally, and I'm gonna put these people, that's just a nice way to say it. But shit, the way they were flaunting on social media. I mean, some of this shit really blew my mind. Like here's right here pictures. This is what FBI, DOJ, whatever you want to call them, indicted yesterday was Bobby Champion's grandson. I don't know. There's some relation to Bobby Champion, right? But he's got all these pictures with politicians. Of course, there go Bobby, but there he goes again. But this is the one that tripped me out, because he's like, I've done a lot of work to get where I'm at, but I have to keep working. Man, what? Scamming the community? That shit, this should be totally wild to me. Because wait, there was one, here it is. I like anything you niggas can't afford. Standing in front of a piano. And it's like, the only reason why you can afford it, dummy, is because you lying to the community, you scamming.
And he's not the only one that he has organizations that are doing this. Okay, this is exactly what we've been saying. Is what they do is they have these organizations they give money to, and they get positions of power, and in turn get votes for anything that these people say. The community's like, oh yeah, these people are cool. Look at them, and then they end up getting the money directly from basically Bobby Joe, right? The way that they put it out in the grants and that they worded a specific way, which he goes on KMOJ and tells people. And yeah, basically it's a free for all, man.
Thank you for bringing up the Camo J piece.
Where do you think that the tax shortfall and everything else, where do you think they're gonna get that from? All those new businesses they just gave all those grants to, and all that real estate space that they can't fill because businesses are leaving. Who's gonna pay that rent?
Right.
Are those businesses going to be viable in the long term? Those are questions to start asking, because the DID is really itching right now. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's why they're trying to get anybody and everybody to come do anything downtown. That's why everybody's pumped about the Timberwolves, right? Because the Timberwolves right now are what's bringing back downtown. That and the Twins. And if the Timberwolves win the championship, yeah, downtown Minneapolis will be thriving for at least the summer, for at least up to June or July, because they're gonna promote the shit out of that.
Well, and realize he was thugging, man. They had a gun on him and was like threatening clients, according to the indictment. Okay, he's been alleged. He has not been convicted, I don't think, yet. He's been indicted, though.
No, he's just been indicted.
So if that is true,
but we're talking about the feds who have a 98% conviction rate. I'm not saying I don't like our justice system, but them niggas got a 98% conviction rate. They're not taking you to trial unless they know they convicted. Or am I wrong?
No, I'm not saying you're wrong. That's the reason I'm just silent on that. Yeah, I just like to throw out there because I've seen things where people are the fall guy for something bigger. Does that make sense? So yeah, they may have done something wrong, but there's like a whole big racket going on, like a huge money laundering thing that everybody's involved with. Does that make sense? And they're just gonna pick off the small fish at the bottom, make it look like they do something. In fact, that's what they do with a lot of the drug shipments. If the Border Patrol or DEA in that area is shady, they'll let certain shipments through and only hit other shipments to make it look like they're doing something when they're making money off of the protection racket.
No, and I've been said that for a very long time, that this shit, they just make this shit make believe, man. There's no fixing the issue, because if they really wanted to end the gun violence, you know, that they could nip that in the bud so quick. But yet when they bring the drugs and the guns in the community, it profits. They make money off of that shit. They make money off of it because then they know that they can throw it at churches, they can throw it at nonprofits that who are all under the guise of making change and reform, but all yet nothing ever changes. Because I will tell you like this, and this is what pisses me off, because I'm somebody that is black, right? Even though I might only be half, whatever, America sees me as black, right? I'm a black American. My ancestors are American descendants of slave. Well, that's what I am, but they were slaves. And I don't see people fighting for us. It's we continually get lied to. They said they were going to get rid of all of these things that harm black people, right? The shit that they did to George Floyd, right? They were supposed to get rid of that. Nope, they didn't. That's still in their books. No knock warrants, a mere lock. Well, they didn't ban no knock warrants because we still have them. It's just with exceptions, right? But I'll tell you right now that the warrant that they had for a mere lock would be the same warrant they would be able to get with exceptions because of the crime and because of the activity that was going on at that apartment. But they don't want, y'all don't want the truth. That's the crazy part. Nobody ever wants the truth. We always want what makes us feel good. It's like with the African American Family Preservation Act. That's nothing but a bunch of words to make us feel good. It's the same thing with proclaiming racism a public health crisis to make us feel good. Juneteenth to make us feel good. Black History Month. But do we ever see change? Do we ever see it? Do we ever see change?
Both sides have been co-opted, man. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's a straight up truth. You have the Zionists on the Christian right. Okay. Right. I'm not saying the far right is anti-Jew, I know, but you know, you have the Christian Zionists, and then on the left, though, a lot of the socialist side of it has been infiltrated by socialists from Eastern Europe that just happen to be Jews. Franz Boas, you go down the list. One of the guys that founded the NAACP I posted about was a former slave owner, dude. He co-founded the NAACP. He became a communist. You know, W.E.B. Du Bois, you know, some of the big names. And so you have to look at how they were influenced, okay, and how these social movements were taken over. And realize, like, there was race riots in the 20s. And then there was a backlash, yeah, in the 30s. And then you had the KKK uprising again and whatever else. But it wasn't just in a static environment. It also was in response to certain things. They got in control of a lot of the unions, right? But then they also were the thugs that would come bust up the unions. So they played both sides of a lot of things. And so you just got to realize that, like, if you're having a group subverting you for their best interest and not your interest, maybe pause and take a gander at it, you know? And so you see some of the social organizations that support certain things with Terran Crews, okay, right up there with him.
Right.
it gets interesting, and it even gets it's not just a religion or a race thing, because like, okay, so when George Floyd was brought up here, there was an actual program bringing people from Texas, specifically with fentanyl and opioid addictions, to Minnesota for treatment at Turning Point, 90-day treatment, and then they were turning people out. I'm sure that there was people in Minnesota that they could be treating as well. Yeah, they got a partnership with North Memorial, right? I mean, like, there's other things going on here. But Hayden is the father of the guy who ran that is a father of Philip Hayden, who got in trouble with some of the stuff with Ellison back in the day, right? And with some of the funding for like CSI and that. And so it just gets interesting, dude. But these people have been doing it for a long time, and half the organizations in Minneapolis aren't even registered, including churches. Just like some of the companies in the rural areas aren't even registered. Do your research, dude. If you're going to a church, just look it up, please. Because I'm getting calls from community members telling me information, which we can get into some of that later. But you're right on, dude. This gets way deeper, and it's scary how deep it goes. You're talking about Fry. You're talking about Lugar, possibly. You know, and if he's involved and he's in charge of the FBI, there's a reason why he's messing up these investigations.
Right.
You know.
Ding, 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 ding.
But it's the appearance of. They want the appearance of, and they want to put in your face a certain narrative. It's the same thing with the stories that they choose. There are some stories that I know of wrongful incarceration of people, of wrongful killing of people that are way more obvious, and we should have been made way more big deal about, but they don't. You know what I mean? And then they take sometimes some stories that are questionable and then blow it up into things that they shouldn't.
Right.
And change never happens because they control both sides.
And you know, I'm glad you bring that up. And Ben, that has been something that has been said for a very long time. People just don't want to talk about it. They don't want, you know, and that's the one crazy thing is because, you know, a lot of the stuff that I've said or the information that has been brought up, people are like, oh, we know about that. But wait, you know about it, but you don't care about it or what? Well, it doesn't really affect me. That's the answers that literally, like, standing in North Minneapolis and talking to community members, talking to ex-employees from these nonprofits who aren't afraid to speak up, or even talking to former Minneapolis employees who worked for the city of Minneapolis, and just hearing the stories. And it's like, damn, no wonder why we don't ever get any change, because we have way too many people that are at the forefront saying that everything is okay and rosy and dandy when it's really not. And then you get shit like this when the news comes out, because people are so already indoctrinated and brainwashed to think that when certain news media comes out, don't listen to them because they're lying. Don't listen to them. They're lying. That's what happened with the fall of Minneapolis. And I'm not saying that everything in the fall of Minneapolis is the truth. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there is some very good information in there, and people won't pay attention to it because of the simple fact of they've been brainwashed by BLM, and instead of being open-minded and just watching it. Nobody wants to be open-minded anymore. Everybody wants to literally just be either this way or that way. And it's like, no, be open-minded. It's not a conspiracy theory. Not when you can literally show paperwork, when you can show receipts.
And
it's not, you know. Maurice
Hall, the guy that was with Floyd, was picking up girls that were wanting to go have sex for money and taking them out to buy the res out there in Redwood Falls, dude. That's what he got in trouble for. It wasn't involuntary. So he's pimping those girls out, man. You know, just sort of not a good look, you know. Sabri has a bad history with cops with that too. He hired a former cop that was a pedo to do security at the Carmel Mall, and then that stuff got squashed after he got fired from there. But I mean myself again. It just gets interesting, dude. There's a lot more connections than people think about.
No, and people don't even. That's the one crazy part for me is that that's something they don't even want to talk about. I'm looking. Hold on. Let me see if I can. That ain't hold. It's brought up somebody else that I'm not looking for. Go ahead. Keep talking.
Well, and there's some of the information I'm getting is directly from community members. I'm not going to name names, but I get people that call me and just say, "Hey, look into this. Hey, here's some more information." The stuff they're sending me is right on. Like one of them that I just posted today was about a guy from Nevada who had fled California because he was a victim of domestic violence. It was on record, and he was sold custody of the kid, which you can't be charged with fleeing the state then under California law. Kamala Harris actually is the one that reviewed his case, dude, and like falsely incarcerated him. And her boss was into child trafficking, and I guess the kid was child trafficked. But Kamala's union boss was John Walsh's girlfriend. And I've been in talks with John Walsh's daughter, who's going through some stuff and has came out with some stuff about her dad. But that gets real interesting because of Hank Asher, who we've talked about on this show before.
Right.
Hank Asher was the father of Data Fusion. Iran-Contra was involved with that. It was a drug runner. But her dad actually built hotels or ran hotels in the Bahamas, basically for the CIA. Okay, that's who was running it at the time in the mob. So it gets real interesting because there's a lot more going on with the child welfare system. You know, that Family Preservation Act they just passed, stuff like that. We got to look at a lot, and it affects locally too. If kids are being abused, they need to be taken care of, we don't need to be ripping kids out of homes unnecessarily and having the state take control of them, especially if they're being trafficked, which given Minnesota's history, especially I've talked about Scott County before, you know, it has a terrible history with their child welfare system. There are some good people in there, I know, but like Hennon was a foster parent for 20 something years and like to rape kids. Or sorry, I'm not sure I can say that on.
Oh, hey, man, listen, I'm unfiltered than a motherfucker on here. You say what you say. I ain't CNN. I don't care if you're drinking something right now that's going to give you got ED issues and it's going to give you a heart on it and you about to go bang some chicks after this. Like Cameron.
No, I'm not like that, man.
All right, I'm just saying I'm unfiltered than a motherfucker on here. But I wanted to well, okay, maybe not too unfiltered. I'm not kid friendly. Because this is for adults because we definitely need stuff. But you need to put this into a concept of where you can teach your kids, though. But we were talking about Maurice Hall, and right there I have on he appears in court, sex trafficking and drug charges, and this is from 2021. And I always did wonder why he never ever. He always pled the fifth, but see, and if people don't understand what pleading the fifth is because you can incriminate yourself. Which Jerry Epstein always played the fifth when he was questioned. Yeah, see, counterfeit bills. Admitted to being in possession of counterfeit bills that day. See, that's what's crazy. Courtney Ross testified that Floyd bought the drugs from Hall. See, I mean, I know this shit's 4 years later, and I hate to even talk about George Floyd, but yeah, you definitely said it, Ben. Covering up their asses is key, and they're very good at that. They
October of 2019 is when he got caught out in Redwood.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the year before Floyd, wasn't it? That he got caught out in Redwood.
About 6 months is October of 2019.
So yeah, it wasn't even that long. Because yeah, there was. I mean, honestly, and I'm not saying that Minneapolis police did not kill George Floyd. That's not what I'm saying, because they did. What I'm saying is that we had 4 men take accountability for something that Minneapolis police had allowed to do for years, and we just seen that with even just yesterday, with the lady coming out and filing a $9 million lawsuit against the city of Minneapolis because of what Derek Chauvin did to her, and John Pope, Zoya Code, and many others before George Floyd.
Well, that's just look at the history of the mob running Minnesota. You know, during
Right.
Prohibition, quite literally, most of the federal agents were on the payroll or they ended up dead. And
Exactly.
the mob literally ran the city in the state. They never really stopped. Okay, it's been on record, man. Just people don't pay attention to it. Think people are crazy when they call it out. That's all it is.
The one thing that I really, and I'm glad you're on here, because we were talking about the Libertarian Party, and with the event coming up, Operation Hug the Block, not even an event, it's an initiative that we're doing for 90 days. I just really feel like that's an opportunity, man. Is like, we want change. How do we get there, right? Because before June 1st, I'm going to be talking to a lot of politicians, and I'm tired of getting the runaround. And what I mean by that is everybody wants to come on and alert people on social media, right? So you got Walter Hudson getting his sound bites. You got plenty others that are getting their sound bites right now, right? Eric Lucero, any Republican. It's an election year, especially if you're in the House, right? You're trying to get reelected. But what I'm not seeing is the education. Because literally how I feel is like, they believe in their mind is that they can't do anything unless they have the power. But see, they do have the power, because if you have the people, which the Constitution says controls what happens, and I understand that there's ways around it, but see, if there's a will, there's a way. And that's the one thing
How
that
can they
really,
expect people to support them when they can't even show up and like talk to the community? Like, if they just heard half the stuff that the community's told me, you know what I mean? Like, you have to freaking listen to people.
but you know what? It's, for me, it's even deeper than that, man. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because everybody sees it. There's a lot of people that see the corruption, right? That see why we don't get change, but then yet get told that, hey, but you can vote for that way, and look what they're going to do to you, because of the simple fact of the way that the Democrats are able to use the Republicans' policies to make it seem like it's going to hurt Black and brown people, when at the end of the day, the Democrats' policies have been hurting us for years, and we're okay with it because we think that it's the lesser of two evils.
Well, the GOP doesn't help themselves out any. I mean, we gave them enough last fall for them to start doing stuff with Champion and them. And truthfully, he wouldn't have been in charge of the Senate Ethics. And
Nope.
guess who his clerk is for the Senate Ethics Committee? It's the same lady who was involved with those other nonprofit moonlighting, the Boygan, Shamika.
Shamika, or yeah, wow.
Yeah, Shamika Boygan. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, it just gets interesting, because like the people involved with the ethics committee are not ethical. Okay. And so like you can do an ethics investigation into them. They could have been off of there. Okay, so not only would the current hearing for Mitchell be probably totally different, right?
Right.
you would have had Champion out of there, so you would have been less votes. So this whole session was because they didn't listen to the community. We were begging them to listen, dude.
But that's the one thing, okay, because like I literally sat at the state capitol with Walter Hudson, and I'm sorry to put y'all out here, but I've been sitting back, right? And I've been really quiet. I've just been trying to move behind the scenes to get stuff done. And so, but I was at the state capitol with Pamela Altendorf, and I'm sorry if I'm saying your last name wrong, Pam, and Walter Hudson.
I really like Pam.
I do too. See, and here's the thing of it is, right? Because this is what I was about to say about this meeting, right? Because I played that video that you made, right? That presentation of how they were the nonprofits and all that, they were doing the corruption and being able to give it back to the politicians. Pam was all gung-ho about it, right? Was like, oh, we could do not congressional, but like House hearings. Well, Walter was like, well, I don't know. And it's like, wait, what do you mean? So are you okay with all of this? Or do you get kickbacks some form or somehow? Because at the end of the day, you're connected to Frazier and Bobby too, Walter, because you sit on these boards of these African American committees with them. CMAH. You were a part of the African American Family Preservation Act. You knew about the subdivision in there that was going to be allowed to just give money to nonprofits with no oversight again. You know about the self-identification about being Black or even from Africa, but yet you didn't say shit because at the end of the day, you know what responses I get back from them? Well, that wasn't really something we wanted to fight for. Like, this is my thing of it is, like, what do y'all want to fight for then? Like, I don't understand it because we get all of these sound bites, even from the Congress. I see so much about Jasmine Crockett, and I don't really go off base here, but in MTG. And it's like, I could give a fuck about a buff body. I could give a fuck about some fake eyelashes because I see that shit every day. Let's see that shit every day. Who gives a fuck? Everybody got BBLs now and lipo and taking ozepimiac or whatever. Who cares? We got way more serious shit going on than some grown-ass adults who we elect to make change, and they're going up there going up there yakking like two high school girls. That was embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And what's crazy,
it was a clown show. It was a little clown show at the end there, man.
That's the whole thing that bugs me. It's like people want to talk about decorum. They want to talk about, oh, but you use this, you use that. Okay. You know what's crazy? I know how to act when I go out in public, right? I know how to act when I go into the state capitol or into them city hall meetings, because you don't think I want to act the fool? Because I've made my point. Well, like when you have to make your point, there's things that you got to do. I don't do it for sound bites. I do it to make a point. Like when I shut down the Red Wing City Council, that was for a point because I wasn't being heard. The community wasn't being heard. They weren't listening to us. And I wasn't the only one there because the community stood with me.
When each community needs to stop and think about which direction they want their community to go. Okay, there's steps that we can take to get there. But what we don't need is people from the outside forcing us and telling us what defines our community, right? I mean, we've allowed society to do that for too long, whether it be through churches that aren't teaching the correct things, that are just brainwashing people for money, and sometimes a little bit of other things. They get in trouble for it, the pedo stuff, money laundering, you go down the list. And that happens in the white communities too. That music, TV, you go down the list. They teach these young kids that all they're good for is shaking their booty and changing their gender. No, you should let kids be kids, and teach them the value of themselves as a person. And that's where a lot of the dysphoria comes in, is they don't feel comfortable as a person. And
Right.
we need to treat that. Why do you think we have such depression even in the rural areas? The highest rate of suicide is among the farmers and the older white males. And they're committing suicide at a very high rate. So it's the same sort of thing. If you have a depressive state of mind, people are going to do bad things. Same thing in the city. Um, we need to address the underlying cause. If you want to get back to the local communities, the local control, taking back control from the government, we can do that. But we have to come together, and we can say, hey, I don't necessarily want to associate with your community. I want your community to succeed. You know what I mean? But that's perfectly fine. If you want to have a community that's more Hispanic, or more everybody wears hats on Sundays, or whatever it may be, each community can be having their own decisions then, but it's not the state or the government forcing it. And that's voluntary association, but that requires a lot more personal responsibility. However, if we don't get back to that, we're going to be dead as a nation. When I say that, it's not ha ha, like demographically we're collapsing and they're flooding in people. So demographically, Americans are going to go away if they don't have more kids in a stable family structure and community. So we see the decay, we see where it's been happening. How do we fix it? And there's some simple solutions, and we just need people that will take action and know that there's a problem. I can work with people that know that there's a problem. People don't. It's sort of hard to wake them up.
No, you definitely, yeah. I don't know anymore. People, I know, like I tell this to Republicans all the time, that if they think that, going into these inner cities, right? That's one thing that to me, I see a lot of these turn red movements. That's how I know a lot of people are undereducated, right? And I'm glad there is conservative influencers out there like Sonny Johnson, who is combating narratives and propaganda, because there's certain places they think that if you live in a sanctuary state, doesn't matter if Donald Trump gets in if you don't do nothing locally. It doesn't matter. You already have statutes and law that your government, your state government, is not going to help the federal government to come in there and get people that are considered immigrants. They're not. It's not the way it works.
And one way to combat some of this is you have to be very careful about how you do it, is the constitutional sheriffs movement. Mm-hmm. And then also the people that are pushing for convention of states.
Right.
If you get the right people on there, because we do have the ability to do a convention of states and abolish our current form of government. We have the ability to do that. Constitutional sheriffs, same thing. I'm not sure if
what's crazy.
Minnesota,
I don't mean to cut you off, but what's crazy is when I brought up that similar idea, people were like, so you kind of want to do like the Boston Tea Party. You kind of want to start a revolution. And I'm like, we're already in a revolution, whether you like it or not, dummy. Like, people just aren't awoke to it yet. If people don't understand, because I'll tell you right now, and that's why I'm glad I've been bringing up the Barry Goldwater and Donald Trump, two similar, people, in a long ways of how similarities to other ways of, forms of history. And I do believe that this is one way closer, that if Trump did become president, and I think that's why they're fighting so hard for him not to be president, is because they know that if he became president, what would happen? And I'm not afraid to say it. There would literally be a race war.
They want a race war, and they've already been trying to kick it off.
Right.
And they've been making both sides really extreme. There's people on the left that I've worked with that when you actually get down to conversations, they're not going to be happy until basically all white people are oppressed, in their own words. I'm like, no, I'm not about that. Okay. No, like, not gonna mess with that. You know what I mean? There's people on the right that say the same thing. No, we don't oppress people. We can focus on our own group doing positive things. Does that make sense? And making the change that we want to see. But we don't have to oppress people. And they've made both sides so extreme that they are talking about race wars, literally.
And this is one thing that I want to show people, because when I talk about a revolution, right, and I talk about, the Boston Tea Party and, the Civil War and all of that, because it's coming. I'll tell you this, that if Donald Trump does become president, you know how we had the Union and the Union and the Confederate? Well, yeah, we definitely going to go back to that. The succession, whatever they want to call that, seceding from the government. You're going to have certain states that are going to do that.
And know this, unless and until Joe Biden does finally begin to enforce immigration laws, I will continue to bus those migrants to sanctuary cities across the United States of America. Bunch of hypocrites. But they're going to New York, trust me.
Oh, damn.
Mayor Adams needs something to do.
Ooh.
And know this.
And that's the coldest part about it all, man, is like, and he's addressed, this was yesterday at the NRA. So you look at, I'm muted. Oh no. If you look at some of the biggest blue inner cities, we're talking about New York, we're talking about Chicago, and they're also sanctuary cities, but not actually just cities, fucking states too. So while this is why I laugh at Mark Carter and them, right? And I know people go, "Oh, you just a hating ass nigga." No, I'm just a realistic ass nigga. Because obviously y'all don't know history and you don't know about conventions when they come to Chicago. Because I'll tell you right now, that's why I'm telling people right now, I won't be there. I wanted to go and I was invited to with the group to go speak and everything. I'm not setting foot in that motherfucker. I'm not. That shit is about to be something that is wow. You literally have going to be the anti-war group is going to be there. You're going to have Black Lives Matter, reparations, niggas for Trump. I'm not stepping foot in that bitch. I'm not stepping foot up in that motherfucker. They literally going to turn Chicago red, but it ain't going to be because of the votes. It's going to be because there's going to be bloodshed everywhere. And for what? There's a whole other way to do this shit.
They're trying to make it the immigrants versus like this, and it's so the Somali gangs too versus the blacks, and you go down the list. So it's everybody versus everybody, and they're trying to kick it all off. And it's no. I hope not. You know what I mean? That's what I've been trying to prevent. But at the same time,
but you know what though? I'm going to tell you right now though, there's no way to literally stop this. And I tell Reverend Tim Christopher this all the time. If we were really serious about stopping what is coming, we would literally call them out for the shit that they do when it comes to they want to bunch blacks together when it benefits them, but then separate us because then they're Nigerian, then they're Somalian, then they're Ethiopian, then they're South African. They're all of that. So I need people to understand that they'll bunch us in all together when it works for them. But when they need to be divided, right.
You know, and then they say, "Oh yeah, we did this for you guys," and you're like, "Well, no, you really didn't." Right. You know, you say you did it for all soda companies, but you only did it for Pepsi and Dr. Pepper. You didn't do it for Coke. You know what I mean? But you said it was all soda. Yeah, that's exactly what they do. It's nothing new. It's just waking people up to who the true enemy is, man. You know, if we can get all that rage put against the state and the corruption groups, they're getting railroaded too. Each one of these groups, highest is bringing people in. They're lying to these immigrants that actually do want to come here, that aren't just the CIA warriors, the fighting aid. You know, they're lying to them, dude. I know people from Chicago that are from Venezuela that went back to Venezuela because they're like, yeah, it was better there. Okay.
Right.
And so like, yeah, just the Somalis are getting lied to too. Up here, we all know that they're controlled by Sabri. You know, what's his name? Zimmerman, Dean Zimmerman, got in trouble for trying to get him out from underneath Sabri by bribing the city council. You know, taking a page out of Sabri's book. So it's like, actually go talk to people. We can probably get it changed. I'm not saying 100%, but like we can do something with their age. And if not, I've warned people, at least try to make sure as many people of your people survive as possible. Because there's some bad stuff.
So it's funny because you said that, you know, that you knew a person that went to Chicago and was from Venezuela and went back. I want people to watch this video. Okay, where the sound at? There was sound earlier. Or maybe he took it off. But yeah, that's South Minneapolis. That's on Blaisdell. Look at that shit. I couldn't imagine living in them apartments. Look at that shit. There's no way. Could you? Could you? There's no way. There's no fucking way. I'm going to be 100% honest. And this is somebody that really loves and cares for everybody, but there's no way in hell because I know and understand what goes on in these encampments. There's no way. I would try to help and do everything possible, but we got to understand that some people just do not want to be helped either. They just don't. They want to be able to use their drugs. They want to be able to, and I don't know what that's, to me, that's a mental health illness. Say about that, but we definitely need to be giving out resources and to the right people and giving them to them in the right way, because we're failing. We're failing. And we're failing a lot of people.
I'm pretty sure they're targeting properties to have these things outside of that they sort of want to decrease the property value and or appeal of it to the point where a developer can come in and buy it up for cheap. I'm not saying they've ever done that before, but
they've done it.
You know, the Walgreens that the permit got denied for all of a sudden got burned out and the permit got approved. So I mean,
right. Well, here's my video from Saturday at that same spot that I just showed you a video of. So I go a little bit. Yeah, because I'll tell you right now, this shit just tripped me out. Oh shit, I gotta show this video. This is Lake Street, right by where the old Kmart. Where the old Kmart goes. Right on there, man. This shit just blew my mind. Because you could literally, like, you stop right at the stoplight and you see tents right there on the sidewalk. Like, what? How are we not doing anything, something? A little bit of something. Like, I don't even understand that. You literally have these people, these human beings that are literally sleeping outside on sidewalks and tents. How the fuck are we not doing something about that? That's crazy to me. In an area right now that is under construction, we literally have people that are out sleeping on sidewalks and tents. How do we not care about that?
because we got the Timberwolves and the Twins and
right. But that's sad as hell. Look at that. You literally, I could not. I just don't get that. Right there in front of a bus stop.
Was that 4 or 5 exits before the stadium?
This is on Lake Street, so this ain't even. This is going towards Lake Calhoun and the lakes in Uptown.
So if you're taking 35 north, right? Yep. It's like 3 exits before the downtown exit.
Right. Right.
That's all I'm trying to get at. So people going downtown should probably like just think about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be crazy. People do need to understand that if you're going to Minneapolis, um, watch your surroundings.
Well, where's all that money going? You see all the taxes that they're putting on everything. You see the price increases. You
Right.
see that side of it, right?
Where's it going?
Where's it going? If the problem is getting worse and we're throwing billions at this point at it,
Right.
where is that billions going?
Because we're definitely not getting our return. We definitely are not getting our return on our investment at all. They blow more money overseas in vacations and cocaine up their noses than we've seen anything about empowering or bettering our education, our opportunities. Yeah. But
Hey,
that's
man, we can buy some mansions in Africa and China too, man. You know, he's got to start up a nonprofit and get in, get with Frey and Luger.
yeah, nah, I'm not. You know, that's the one crazy thing of it is, man, as I sit back and I think about all of this shit, and it's like, how can they sleep with themselves? How can you sleep at night knowing? And this is one thing too that I've discussed with Republican legislators too is how the hell can we get to some of these confidential award money tips for people that were and I'm not talking about uncovering all of them. I'm only talking about the cases where we can exonerate the people and that they be like Marvin Haynes because somebody got paid for a tip that was bogus and still hasn't been talked about. Yeah, that's why we brought up, man. That's what's crazy to me. Because I'll tell you right now that, and I'm sure maybe they did get that type of money. I don't know who Rob Smith is. I know he was the gay Republican that got called some names or whatever. And I didn't even know he was actually out here in 2020 when all that went down. But I know that definitely that was something that was corruption, or not corruption, but the waste of money. Because there was a lot of George Floyd that name brought in a lot of money to Minneapolis. A lot. That even still the Minnesota Freedom Fund is still, I think they had like 30 million left from bailing out people. They don't even know they got so much money. They don't even know.
They get in trouble also, their leaders or whatever, for doing stuff they shouldn't.
Yeah, the one lady at the Freedom Fund got busted at the Mall of America. She had cocaine in her purse. One got busted. The only one that was actually really still doing good is Eliza. I think he's the only one that hasn't been honestly busted for something recently. But everybody else around these people, man, they've been, there's been a lot of shit going on. That's why I say it's even hard for me to work with Deanna Witt when I know the things that she's been behind. And maybe she's just a puppet and I need to get like, yeah, you definitely right about that, Rev.
Thank you to her, because she's busted some stories wide open.
Who, Witt?
Yeah.
The sheriff?
No. Sorry, I thought you said Deanna. I'm sorry, Winter.
Oh no,
I'm sorry, not the Witt.
Yeah, no, because you were talking about bringing something to the Hennepin County attorney, and not attorney, sheriff, which is Deanna Witt or whatever the hell her name is. And that lady, man, I had a whole interaction with her in 2021 during the Derek Chauvin trial. So my interaction, yeah, she was just a trip, and she wasn't even a sheriff then.
We can try to get somebody into that sheriff's position that will be a constitutional sheriff, because I guarantee you there's a lot more going on with Hennepin County than people realize.
Oh, there's a lot.
Those boys were advising Hennepin County, the ones that just got busted.
Right. And that's the one crazy part that nobody's going to want to discuss, right? Of who they were consultants. Who are they consulting for? Nicole Mitchell? Nah, I don't think they don't do burglaries.
But if people want to know how some of this works, I can show you Shamika's stuff from that phone call I got last night that I looked up some stuff. Now, I'm not 100% sure on part of it, so I'm not going to mention that part as far as relationships to people because I haven't confirmed that yet. But I do have more on her.
Let's see. You want me to add your other screen?
Let me see if I can share that one first.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, you can. Okay, so this is from the Senate DFL staff that they welcome Shamika Boygan. This is January 2020. And it goes through some of her stuff that she's done. Okay, she's been involved with a lot in Minneapolis, including Minnesota Orchestra, Shiloh Temple, the West Broadway Area Business Coalition, or Business Area Coalition, Pulse Outreach, and more. So I looked into her a little bit further and came across this, Reliant Ministries, and she seems to be part of this church, Sanctuary Covenant Church, in North Minneapolis. She's their director. Oh, wait, 1 second. I need to share this tab instead. There we go. Okay, Reliant Ministries. And they're involved with her over in North Minneapolis at Sanctuary Covenant Church. Right there. She's their director of neighboring. And so then I looked up Sanctuary Covenant Church. It gets interesting. Sanctuary Covenant Church has an EIN, an employee identification number. And give me 1 second here. I'm going to share this tab. And so they have an EIN on here, but the IRS does not have any record of their EIN. They're not registered with the Secretary of State of Minnesota under any of their names.
Fuck out of here.
No, yeah, okay, like quite literally. Okay, so I can show you here. Okay, we're gonna copy this.
Yep.
I'm gonna go over to the IRS. I'm gonna share this tab. Okay, this is the IRS.
This shit, this shit crazy as hell. They're not.
I put it in there, and it comes back with nothing. That's their EIN from their fundraising.
Wow.
Okay, give me 1 second.
They're not even registered. So how are they legally getting donations?
Oh, I don't know. Because the St. Paul Foundation donated to them. I have it on their 990.
Wow.
So 1 second here. And that is something Smith. I sent you his name. Used to run that. Let me see if I can get over to the newspapers.com for that. Yeah, it's Ephraim Smith.
Ephraim Smith, right.
Yeah, so I'm gonna share this tab real quick. Ephraim Smith right up there. Okay, and the St. Paul Foundation had been donating to him. And I'll share this tab on their 990s here. And I went through and I searched the EIN and they donated to them. Okay, so you have foundations like this and the Minneapolis Foundation that donate to some churches sometimes even that aren't even registered. That's exactly what happened with CSI Minneapolis, right? Their fiscal agent was not registered. That was Clarence Hightower's church, New Bethel Missionary Baptist Church. So I'm just saying, she's also part of their ethics committee.
Run that EIN right there, the 41. run same this to show people that shit does come up, so they don't be like,
Okay.
oh, well, maybe there was just a miss. Y'all
So
messed up doing something.
I'm gonna copy that. I like to copy it
Yeah, I do
because
too.
then I don't fat finger it error,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So this is for the nonprofits, right? So if they don't register as a nonprofit, it's different. So
Oh, look at
so
something came up. Look at that.
yeah, something comes up and then you're able to go in there. So if they make under a certain amount, you're not going to have a 990. You're just going to have a what they call a postcard form, right? I think it's
Right.
50,000 or something like that.
Yep, it's 50. Anything under 50,000, they get to do postcards. Anything over, they have to do a return.
Yeah, and then you can just go on here and get their 990s, and that's how we've been getting
Right.
the nonprofit
Yep.
stuff for like what's that the
This
McDavid
is
stuff.
why they hate us, bro.
Yeah.
This is why they dislike us, because the shit that they say we can counter with, and it's not just rumors. We can literally have receipts with it. We have paperwork, and that's
Yeah,
what they
like
hate about.
okay, a Mother's Love Initiative, they pay for rent or whatever, but they're renting
Right.
from who? Is that the LLC
Right.
that got
And they
the
own
business?
the house.
Yeah, but was it the under the LLC, and are they paying the LLC? So she's making money off of that,
Right.
you know, through rent, and it's not a big deal, but you got to be transparent about that. How much money are you making on rent?
And they don't
You
be.
know.
Nobody's transparent.
Oh yeah,
Pissing me off.
like if you run a nonprofit, you can always do like fundraisers for administrative costs, and people will donate to that knowing that it's for administrative cost. You don't have to defraud everybody, but they do. It's easy. In Minnesota, they'll just sign off on whatever. So
Yeah,
I'll let you go talk about some stuff real quick.
Yeah, because even I was brought up. Somebody at I was going to Rochester. They brought up the Tubman Foundation, and I saw the ex-mayor Sharon Belton a part of that board, and I'm like, is it so? These people literally ex-politicians. So I'm talking about Ryback. I'm talking about even Belton, who was a former mayor. Former city council members that now sit on McKnight Foundation or the Polad Foundation, and make all of these decisions, giving money to nonprofits for school education, for policing, for social justice. And then we wonder why we never get no change when even the Minneapolis Foundation is sitting on billions of dollars in investments overseas. This is a nonprofit.
They donate. Minneapolis Foundation donates to places all over the U.S. too,
All
not
over the U.S. too. Right. No, I know. Right. It just really just baffles me of like the shit that we will come on and get mad about Puffy, or we'll want to cancel R. Kelly, but we won't talk about, don't let you bring up your favorite pastor who's been fucked the community for years, or your favorite activist or your favorite nonprofit. And it's like people just don't want to
How
believe
much
it.
in grants? Okay, did Bobby Joe write? And were there any programs where his great grandkid or whoever that is that just got caught, and all the stuff that Shamika's involved with, Turning Point, you go down the list, right? All the stuff that she's involved with the church and the St. Paul Foundation, whatever. Okay, is any of that money flowing directly to the stuff she's involved with? And or do those people, the 9% that actually turn out in your district to vote?
Right.
And are they coercing people not to vote?
See, that's what I wonder too. Thank you for bringing up that point, right? Because like going over North Minneapolis, and door knocking for Cece, who ran against Omar, I was having conversations with people, and that's one thing that constantly was brought up is there were so many fear-mongering tactics, right? And what I mean by that is, well, if I vote for a Republican, they're going to take away my Section 8. That's not true. But they're going to take away my food stamps. They're going to take away all this and this. Not true, right? And even if that was the fucking case, we have a process. Not just going to happen overnight, right? So, but sitting with people and the fact that they were more scared about getting their, I'm just going to come out and say it, their pacifier taken. They didn't want to go in a different direction, or I got to work that day. Well, you know, I got all these kids. We got to stop coming up with excuses to not to vote and just go out and vote, because I don't understand of how. This is the one thing that I think is going to hurt Royce White, right? I think he's going to shake up the GOP in Minnesota, right? And maybe even a little bit nationally. But is that going to be enough? And is it going to show out when it's time to come to vote?
Well, the Republicans need to put their money where their mouth is a little bit. When I say that, not dollars, okay?
Right.
If you have areas that you know need help with childcare while they're standing in line for 2 hours because they have ballot access issues, where some of those lines are 2, 3, 4 hours long, right. Yeah, you're gonna have to set up some childcare. Hey, go, I will take care of your child while you go vote, but make sure that the people are vetted. You know what I mean? There's things like that they can do. Provide rides to people. You go down the list, dude, but you have to put your time where your mouth is, dude, and not just yap.
What you mean, nah, Rev? Because I'm going to tell you right now, there needs to be way more people holding these people accountable. We shouldn't be even letting people in the room anymore. They shouldn't be allowed in the rooms. And that's the one thing of like, this is the thing that frustrates me, right? Is people always ask about, and this has nothing to do with you, Rev. But they ask me, well, how can we do? What can we do? What can we do? Well, you can do a recall. You can do a recall. Our Constitution allows for that, right? When there is of malfeasance, which there is enough of, and feasance, which there is enough of that too. And it doesn't always have to be criminal. It can be ethical, right? Because I'll tell you right now that if people if these little groups form together and use their resources, and their connections, we would get so much further along. Okay. See, I'm gonna disagree with you there, Rev. I don't think he's too far right? I don't think he is. And I do believe that I agree with you. Bannon isn't a good look, right? But Bannon also has money. He's got connections. So if Royce uses those in the right way and puts that time and energy in the right places, I do believe that Royce could definitely, with the people that are going to come behind him, right? Well, I'm talking about Trump, because I can guarantee it that CC, I do believe that Trump endorsed, but I guarantee it that Trump is going to endorse Royce. If there's anybody, I'm not saying he's going to win. I'm not saying that, right? But I will say this, is that he is going to put on a good run against Klobuchar. I know he didn't do good against CC, and that was all by design. I do believe that I will say this, is that Royce had CC on policy. Definitely had her on policy. And that's why I was trying to help CC's team with their policy writing when it came to literally promoting to the people. And they wouldn't even listen to us. They wanted to parade us all over Minneapolis, all over Congressional District number 5. But yet, it never made any sense to me of the way that they would try to talk to different communities. And especially when it came to the Black community, because they wanted to bring CC in, who nobody really knew. She comes in wearing stilettos, these tight ass jeans, BBL, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then you start hearing the stories. She used to be a stripper. She was this, she was that. And it's like, why does that matter? Why does any of that matter? Right. That's got to change, Rev. Like we literally, we we got to change that. And I agree with you, because what's crazy is I was calling out Sean Holster, and the goofy literally called me a degenerate grifter. A degenerate grifter. Like, dude, no, because I'm educated. And here's the crazy thing of it is, like I told him, if you would have been better with your words, you let Zainab Muhammad dog you. Zainab Muhammad, a new American. But what's crazy is he runs the BOPU, whatever it's called in Minneapolis. That's what I'm saying. We need a whole new leadership. A whole new leadership. We have people that are jokes.
There is another way too, man, and that's what I've been trying to tell the Libertarian Party, because I think that their message would resound. You know what I mean? Because they're about limited government,
right?
Voluntary association. You know what I mean? And food security. You go down the list on that, the Second Amendment. But it's more about voluntary association than that. You know, if they actually, I think they're going to expand their party in Minnesota if they actually put the boots on the ground type thing. Because it's totally another option.
You know, and that's why I think when I listen to Mark Carter and Derek Gibson and some others, I do believe even in Marcus, I forget his last name, but he's in Rochester, New York, and he's running for New York seat. I do believe that we can take back here. I'm not even gonna say take back, right? But I'm gonna say this is, I'm going to get to that comment in a minute, but let me finish this, Rev, because I don't know how to think about this, right? But I do believe there is an opportunity that if we united, there is an opportunity to sit here and take over the Republican Party. I'm not going to say take back, right? Because we grew up as conservatives. If we literally look back as human beings, as individuals, and we look up of how we were raised, right? We were raised in a conservative, traditional manner. If you're over 40, you cannot say that you grew up in some weird ass type of whatever, because at the end of the day, you're a lie. You might have grew up, your parents might have been hippies, but they were definitely about family. And people take that conservative shit and bring it to a whole nother realm. And we need to literally keep it for what it is. Family. And it doesn't have to be about, go ahead.
It's about the community getting together and helping the community as well. And it doesn't mean that the help will necessarily go away. It's changing the way that it does. Okay. And so, like, when I say that, like when the tornado hit St. Peter, man, my dad got a group from Honeywell and went down, and we helped take care of people. We helped clean up the debris and whatever else. We were there before the state was, you know? And that's the type of thing that Minnesotans used to do. There's groups that I went with to go feed the homeless in Minneapolis before there was certain programs. You know what I mean? It's not that these things won't exist. It's how do we address the problem and how do we do it best? Is government doing it efficiently? Obviously not. They're laundering money. Their billions of dollars ain't going to you guys. You know what I mean? And so I do agree limited government doesn't help the poor. Neither does big government that launders money.
Right. And this is the point that I wanted to make about this comment, though, is the difference for me that I get to take of the conversation that I've had with Republicans, and we talk about the limited government, the small government. I won't call it limited, small, is the fact it's about self-sufficiency, right? It's not about anytime you get into a situation, you run to the government and ask for help. It's about you picking yourself up and being able to do it yourself, right? That's what I don't see enough of, because we got that victim mentality and not that victor, because we always feel like we have to go to somebody to get help. And what's crazy, Rev, I do this You've helped me. You've helped. You know what I'm saying? You've helped me. I've literally had to go to the government, and that wouldn't help us, but they would literally help people that were coming from other countries. That me and my wife both had jobs. It was the fact that I was a criminal. I have a criminal background. That they wouldn't rent to me, or the fact that we were 12 points under what they wanted for credit scores. It was never about not having enough money. I've been working and having money the whole time I've been doing this. It's the fact that people would, and just like if nobody's seen the story about Marvin Haynes the other night on Fox 9 of how he was exonerated, and they brought up his criminal record, which he has none because he was exonerated. So we have issues, but nobody wants to talk about them because of the simple fact that when you have these conversations with voters, they always bring up these other things about Republicans. And at the end of the day, I really can't disagree with them. But I sit here be trying to change people's minds because at the end of the day, we're indoctrinated to believe that the Republicans are the worst party and voting Democrats is the lesser of evils.
And when I say limited government, you know where you start? You start with the state or federal government. Okay? Because, like, I don't know, the CIA's been running black ops for how long? The Pentagon hasn't passed an audit in how long? You know what I mean? They almost got audited on 9/11, but then that went away. That's the type of stuff also I'm talking about. We don't need to be having these foreign wars. We don't need to be sending money overseas and helping out people from other countries when we can't even take care of our own citizens. Our citizens need to come first. And it is individualism. However, we also need to build up strong communities, right? Because your community should be there for support as well, where you are building each other up. You know, get back to that sense of, you know, if you're sick and you need your neighbor is willing to take your kid to school, that's okay. You know, but then vice versa. It's that you succeed together. It is individualism, but you also need that community cohesion. They've divided us purposely so much that we don't trust our neighbor. We don't trust the person down the street. We can't even walk down the street without being strapped or whatever it may be. Right. Well, no, that shouldn't be. How do we change that? You know, and getting back down to like the money that's been thrown at these programs again, if it would actually fix the programs, if you saw the money going to the homeless and those homeless people were taken care of, you wouldn't have an issue. When you drive by and you see more homeless people after more money, that's not fixing anything. And so how do you get the money to the right people? Those are the community conversations that you need to have, but you have to have it at the community level because the community knows, you know, and that's, I'm not a libertarian. Okay. But that's the reason that the party appeals to me a lot is because they're about those types of things. Right. You know, I'm not a libertarian, so I don't speak for them, but that part of the party really appeals to me. You know, I think they have their own issues, but I think that type of mentality where we can also look at positively what we can do and actually really address the issues and change around our mindset based on best practices. Because if history says that we were doing it wrong, then maybe we should look at how we're doing it.
We're doing it.
Section 8. Okay. For one example, did you know there's a federal program that can be delineated by the states where they actually pay somebody's mortgage for a rent to own versus just renting? So by the end, they don't have to rent anymore. And a lot of times it's cheaper than the actual rent for an apartment. Why don't we do that? Because it's a big money laundering scheme because these landlords then donate to whatever. And that's all it is. Half these landlords aren't even registered, you know? So it's not even saying that these programs need to be abolished. What are we doing? You know?
Right. Exactly. Well, I wanted to get your thoughts on this video that I found this morning. I wanted to know what this is. So it's about 6 minutes long, and we're going to leave off with this, but I want your thoughts. And then, it's to me, I thought this was really important.
But that is a second term decision, Ben, not a first.
you're not going to continue to lie and bomb and kill all these kids without facing serious consequences. But that is a second term decision to spend with, not a first term,
So we can't say now because he'll probably lose support from the Jews.
Enough support that we can't get 270 electoral. So there are political calculations that are being made that I'm not making. There, whether how do you if I didn't win again, you could be much more forthright about saying no. Like, there's such a political risk to even say what Biden said earlier this week. Like, we're not going to give you more bombs.
We're not going to supply the weapons and the artillery shells used.
The Pentagon confirmed a U.S. shipment of 3,500 bombs was paused.
So he has to keep things quiet for now.
Yeah.
Are you under Jake Sullivan? Like right under him?
So he's the national security advisor. My boss is the deputy national security advisor. But she's the deputy national security advisor for cyber. Cyber has become so important that we have a deputy who's and so I'm under her.
The whole Gaza-Israel thing, it's like so ridiculous.
You're not gonna get me, but
what do you mean?
I feel like sometimes the reason I lie about where I work, not with you, like, or people like even before that, the Balfour Declaration, which gave Israel its first start in 1984, being involved in it.
Right. Does that have to do with APAC too? Because I hear a lot about that news.
So I was going to say that there's a huge powerful Jewish influence in both Republican and Democratic politics. And the administration is really facing a conundrum of siding or like being as active as some of our more progressive and democratic factions and parties, and like losing the Jewish, having the powers that be placate the Biden administration like anti-Semitic, and losing the next administration because of that. And whether we're having internal deliberations about about stuff, whether Israel's actually or not, that's not really something that we can even those deliberations we really have public without anyone getting pissed. People are being pissed off as it is.
But why? Why can't it be public?
Say what these people like the law. And it's not like we aren't hearing it from our constituents, Congress, from our families. My boss is very Jewish.
I'm worried about November.
You should be.
Is that?
You should be.
How do you combat? How do we combat it?
There is this, obviously, there's a thought that says we should be more transparent, but Israel has both a domestic and international footprint. Domestically, we have so many Jewish people. We've stuck by them so long. And there's such an easy way for certain folks to twist this message of we're standing up for human rights. There are even folks in the U.S. is turning against us to play like a martyr. We would lose. There are political calculations that are being made that I'm not making. There, whether how do you if I didn't win again, you could be much more forthright about saying no. You had that terrorist attack October 7th, and it was Hamas, but we can help you. You're doing it. We can't even really say that because it's all classified. But we can help you in the way that we can. But you're not going to continue to lie and bomb and kill all these kids without facing serious consequences. But that is a second term decision to spend with, not a first term.
So we can't say now because he'll probably lose support from the Jews.
Enough support that we can't get 270 electoral. So it's such a political risk to even say what Biden said earlier this week. Like,
What do you say?
we're not going to give you more bombs. No free bombs, but you continue that. Yeah,
He said that?
he did.
How did I miss that? That was risky. Because now Jews will get really, really upset.
In their own communities are hearing like, oh, I'm taking that as America is turning against us and not, no, we are supporting human rights as we've tried to do for so long.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And the whole Palestine effort is really, those are a lot of our voters. If it, like the Palestine Free Palestine, those are our voters, and we need them. And I feel like we lost them.
One part is like, maybe both look as conscious and possibly lose. But like, if he did that and then Trump won, in the long run, did he actually help?
So he has to keep things quiet for now.
Yeah.
Huh. So, what do you think?
Yeah, it's right on. I mean, that's what I was talking about them controlling both sides of a lot of issues. And if you look at it, since the 1860s, when the Eastern Europeans flooded in, that's been the case. LaRouche did a really good thing on it. He has on YouTube a video called Palmerston Zoo, I believe it is. I can share it with you. It's a very good one. It goes over B'nai B'rith, the formation of the ADL, the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, and the involvement of certain organizations with things like the KKK.
Right.
Okay. And even, I mean, Malcolm called it out. Farrakhan called it out. There was people that were Jewish that were in those organizations that were fomenting both sides. So it's not speculation. They've been caught doing it. Same thing with the spying like Pollard. And there's nuclear weapon secrets before that in the 50s that were given. There's people that were executed for treason for it. All I'm saying is you've talked about the Somali influence. You don't want any foreign influence in your state. And so if people are more loyal to Wisconsin than Minnesota, you probably don't want them in your government. If they're more loyal to Russia or China or Iran than your government, you probably don't want them having a say in your government, correct? That's my view on it. So JCA actually is the one group that I was talking about that was up there with Taryn about with the reparation stuff. It just gets interesting because they're controlling both sides of a lot of narratives because they're also controlling the Zionist right. And you can see that here in Minnesota. I mean, Walter won't even say anything about them. Tom Petters is the one that said the Sabes family runs the mob up here. They have the Jewish Community Center in St. Louis Park that's named after them. Okay, but they, if you look at their history, they were in charge of the gaming on the reservations. Okay, through a gaming commission or company. Look at Mark Sugarman, Myron Sugarman. Sorry, the last Jewish gangster, and he tells about how they basically went on the reses to escape the mob stuff because their reses are their own countries, they're their own governments. And Lyndon LaRouche went over that too, including the ties in Minnesota. He didn't name the Sabes family, but you can put two and two together. They also ran operations for both gaming and strip clubs, stuff like that in Minnesota. One of their security guys or main guys, whatever, was part of the Gambino family, and he got caught up with some stuff. So I mean, like, yeah, it's probably still going on. Look at Luger, look at Frey, who go there to the JCC up there. And I'm not saying it's all fraud, but we've seen enough fraud where it's starting to look like they may need to be looked into as well. You know what I mean? That's the reason I say we need to not get too crazy on either side. There's reasonable solutions in the middle we can sit down and talk about. But they want to control the narrative, and then we got to get that out of there. Whether it be whoever politically that has money behind the scenes, right? But there's a way to do it where the people have the say. On the Nova stuff, I can share something real quick here. I'm gonna share. Oh, I'll let you do what you have up on the screen, and I'll share.
Well, oh, you can share yours. Which one? Okay, here it is. I was sharing the wrong one. You're muted.
Oh, sorry. Am I on now? So this is screenshots from their Facebook from the Nova Music Festival. This was a week ahead of time. Loving missiles or rockets. The Rocket Festival program, they were crying about it, mad about it afterwards. And then if you go to their website, which I have right here, and I've also posted screenshots about it. Okay, sorry, it's right here. See if it'll pop up. Now, I've done a video on this before. Oh, it looks like they changed it. Okay. I will send you the video I've done on it before.
Okay.
Anyway, on their website, they have, or they had, that you wouldn't guess what would happen when the supernova meets the Sucket Music Festival. It's going to be an explosion of something or other. And then they said you can already guess what would happen, and like upside down smiley faces in that. It gets really concerning because yeah, it's like they already knew what would happen.
Right. I to me it's damn. That's I don't even know what to say to that shit.
I found the video. I can share it here in 1 second.
All right. That's crazy. Yeah. So if you're a city employee today, they got a free meal down at the City Hall for the 4th annual George Floyd Day of Remembrance for all city Minneapolis employees. As long as we have breath, reset. ERB wanted to make this year's observance as personal for you. We recognize the fight for social justice takes a heavy toll on our minds and our bodies. Each day we wake up with breath in our bodies is an opportunity to self-assess and reset when necessary. In honor of George Floyd and the many other Black, American Indian, Latino, and Asian lives lost due to racial injustice, we are gathered in City Hall to remember, reflect, and reaffirm our dedication to enacting change. Oh, they such a crock of shit. Reflection space during this event. That's going on right now. I know it's not. Starts in 45 minutes. So if you're down there today from 11:30 to 1:30 at the City Rotunda, you'll have an opportunity to be in the community with one another. Lunch will be provided. Reflection space. They'll create a space to remember, reflect, reaffirm, and reset our minds and bodies. What feelings do you remember, or what stays with you regarding George Floyd's murder and how the world responded? How am I different today because of May 25th, 2020? And what do I need to help me reset? I need for y'all to stop being pricks. I'm not a Minneapolis city employee, so he ain't talking to me. But here we go. Share yours. There we go.
So this is the video. I'm gonna see if it has audio on there.
Tell me what you notice here. Parallel Universe World Tour. Tribe of Nova. Supernova. The explosion that set off World War III. The sacrifice, maybe.
There's no sound.
It'll come back on in a second here. I was just scrolling down so people could read through it because they've taken this off their website now.
Read as we scroll.
Oh, did they? Oh, that's what you were trying to show that they had taken off?
Yeah, because it gets interesting down here at the bottom.
Just gonna real quick see what this is. Land of Samba.
But you see on there the parallel universe, the explosion. And Brazil gets real interesting when you look into their history with slavery in Suriname and Brazil.
Brazil is the land of Sambas. Oh, that's interesting.
Because the Jewish Dutch got kicked out when the Portuguese took back over.
See my growth post for more. You can already imagine the results, or perhaps not. An explosion. Immense burst of light. It's all a psyop, folks.
So, yeah, they had some interesting stuff on there. Let's put it that way. And then those notes about the Rockets and wanting a chair in the air and all that.
Right. Boy, if y'all motherfuckers don't wake up and stop saying y'all woke. It's been an impactful episode. It's been a long one. I hope we didn't bore you guys too much. I hope it was very insightful. I hope it was informative. I hope people take stuff away from this and ask questions. Ask how we can make a difference. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't have to wait for another election. We don't have to wait until November. We can do it now. So if you would like to be involved, hit us up. Reach out. Because we can't do this alone. You know, we can come out here and put this information out here. And I love doing it. I love to expose their lies, right? With truth. Since they want to call it truth, but it's really lies. That's what I'm here for. That's what Robert's here for. That's what Reverend Tim Christopher, so many others, Miss Nikki. I know that's one lady that I know she done been through the trenches, man. And I will always stand with her. There's a lot of people that are behind the scenes and don't get the credit that they deserve or the recognition that they deserve for the work that they do. Because we got too many fake and fraudulent people ahead of them. But with that being said, man, I hope everybody has a great Wednesday. Enjoy your hump day. Tonight is game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Minnesota Timberwolves and the Dallas Mavericks. So that starts at, I think, 7 o'clock. I got to work, so I won't be watching it. But I hope y'all are out there enjoying your day and enjoy the weather. We had storms yesterday, but hopefully it won't be like that today. So win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell. Wish me well. Y'all have a great one.
Very conservative.